The Joe Rogan Experience.
The same people that were calling for the ban on Roe v. Wade are now calling for an appeal of same-sex marriage.
Because you give him an inch.
Yeah.
And it's about taking it back to this, like, 1950s, or we can even say antebellum, because this also plays into race, taking it back to that.
What's antebellum?
Antebellum is like hearkening back to the South. So like,
what does that word mean?
Antebellum, well, that's why like Lady Antebellum had to change the name to Lady A. Antebellum refers to a time in the South pre-slavery, glorifying those days, which I don't think the band meant for that. I think antebellum's become associated.
What band?
Lady Antebellum.
I don't know what that is.
This was a whole thing a couple years ago. It's a country band, Lady Antebellum. They've got some great songs, and they had to change it to Lady A.
Oh, because of that.
Because of the word.
Much so like is that what the actual definition of antebellum is? Is
yes.
it pre-slavery?
No, during slavery.
Occurring or existing before a particular war, especially the American Civil War.
During slavery.
The Convention of the Antebellum South.
So it harkens back to, mint juleps and having a plantation.
Click
and all
on that.
Stuff.
What does antebellum literally mean? Before the war. So it means
before the Civil War. This is during slavery. It's glamorizing a time during slavery.
Well, it says it wasn't widely associated with the U.S. Civil War until after that conflict was over. The word comes from the Latin phrase antebellum, literally before the war. So it literally means before any war. But the earliest known print appearance in English dates back to the 1840s.
Right. So in America, it's the Civil War. We're not talking about Iraq.
Right. But they're saying English print, it dates back to the 1840s before the Civil War.
Sure. So this is all,
with the capitalization.
but this is all, my whole point was it was all romanticizing a time when slavery was legal.
Got it. Yeah.
And the Dixie Chicks also had to change their name for that reason.
Oh.
So now they're just the Chicks, which sometimes you don't know what band people are talking about.
Well, the Dixie Chicks, do you remember when the Dixie Chicks came out and said that they were embarrassed that George W. Bush was our president, and then the fucking South went after them?
Oh, yes.
And they were fucked. Like, I think it kind of tanked their career. Because
So
they were very popular.
I think it was Natalie. I want to say it was Natalie Maines is the one that said it. And two of them went to my high school. Their mom was our teacher.
Wow.
What's unfortunate, and this is when this was an opportunity for men who hate women to decimate someone, and women who uphold that sort of thinking of, women should keep their mouths shut.
The Dixie Chick thing was? Yeah.
I was in a coffee shop in the middle of Texas not long ago, and I have a shirt on that says apologize to the Dixie Chicks. It says the Chicks, and that kind of obfuscates the message, but apologize to the Chicks. And there was a man sitting there. We're in the middle of Texas at a coffee shop, like a local watering hole kind of coffee shop. And you could tell, and he was probably in his 70s, nice Texas man. And he was like, this is our coffee shop. What does your shirt mean? And I explained to him about the Dixie Chicks, how, given everything that's happened, they didn't deserve the hellfire that rained down on them for expressing an opinion. And his opinion was, well, you can't go around saying stuff about your government. It's like, well, you can, actually. It's called freedom of speech. You guys fight for it every day. And I simply said to him, I can get mad at someone for their political opinion, but I strangely draw the line at threatening to kill a woman or rape her over that opinion. And he stepped back and he was like, well, yeah, that's a lot. So I think people don't realize, especially when a woman says something wrong, the types of threats that come down that you might brush off or a guy doesn't think about. But if I get up and I'm like, I hate Joe Rogan, I hate his podcast, and you'll get men that are like, I hope you get raped, I hope you die. And these experiences, and I actually talk about this in my new special, it's a lot funnier than I'm making it sound now, are not just online, they get carried out. People shoot up schools because of their hatred of women.
What school's been shot up because of hatred of women?
University of Santa Barbara. That kid wrote a whole manifesto.
Oh, that's right. That was like the first incel, right?
Montreal.
In terms of like a popular incel where it was discussed?
1989, Montreal Massacre. This guy also having an issue with being unfuckable. Shot a bunch of people in the name of this. It is the guy that shot up that strip mall in Atlanta had a whole thing about how women don't pay attention to him. Those were Asian women he targeted. So we're talking about, she said something as a political belief, and then by and large what happens is you do something and then people come at you. You bring a knife to a fight, people come with a gun, literally. These are very real things that women have to think about when you exercise your free speech or just ideas, just as a man would. You have to think about your physical safety. These are very real things. It's the reason I have a security at shows. It's not because of women It's not because of women coming up to me,
Yeah.
which they have, and like that's not scary. But you never know.
But if a man came out and said, I'm embarrassed that George W. Bush is our president, and he did it like that, he wouldn't have to think about that aspect. It wouldn't be, I hope you get raped.
I mean, it might not be rape. People might say violent things about him. You'll
For
get
sure.
people that, but when you and I leave a building at night, you think, we've talked about this, you
Yeah.
think about your walk a lot differently than I do. And I do it naturally. I look around,
Yeah.
And so that's why I'm shocked I have gotten through all those parties unscathed. Like, it's just a different way that you kind of walk through the world. Less impunity. And so I think that's what bothered me about the Dixie Chicks things was like she said something and it wasn't at a time where people were exercising free thought like they were because the ubiquity of the internet hadn't taken over.
Right.